Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Trying to lose weight? It's time to try Hers. At forhers.com/4u, you can access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss treatments tailored just for you. These include oral medication kits or compounded GLP-1 injections. Through Hers, pricing for oral medication kits start at just $69 a month for a 10-month plan when paid in full upfront. No hidden fees, no membership fees. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hers brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. Reach your weight loss goals with help through Hers. Get started at forhers.com/4u to access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss plans. That's forhers.com/4u, forhers.com/4u. Paid for by Hims and Hers Health. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions at forhers.com apply.
You're listening to the Telltale Channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Okay, there's this dude named Robert Jeffress. He's an evangelical, very influential evangelical pastor. And he is one of the reasons why Trump was elected. He's a colossal scumbag. And he's a little different than a lot of other evangelicals in that he seems to believe that Donald Trump is actually a really bad person, at heart, and he didn't support him in 2020, actually, surprisingly. I don't think he spoke on Trump in 2024, as far as I can remember, but he always stands behind the Republicans ultimately, like in the general election, and I'll show you some examples in a minute. But there was this attack recently on a school, again, and Jeffress has an answer for the impotence versus evil problem. He has an answer for why God would allow bad things to happen to good people. Listen to this.
Why would a loving God allow such a tragedy to occur? And then you put in this context children praying in a church. And
yeah, it was a Catholic school, and the children were in the middle of prayer.
While they were praying, gunman unloads on them. Why does this happen? I thought, Perry, about Luke chapter 13, when a group of people asked Jesus about why God allowed a group of worshipers in the temple to be slaughtered by Pilate. And it's interesting, Jesus never answered the why question.
Because there is no good answer. It makes no sense.
When Job asked why God allowed his 10 children to be killed in a freak windstorm, for his possessions to be taken from him, from his health to be broken, again, God never answered the why question.
Yeah, weird, huh? Almost like it doesn't make any sense. Why would God allow bad things to happen to good people? Either he's not all-powerful, meaning he can't stop those bad things from happening, or he's not all good, meaning he doesn't care. Not all powerful or not all good. Impotence versus evil. It's a problem that has existed since forever, since the concept of God has been around. Thomas Aquinas took a crack at it, and it was absurd. It's always been absurd. There is no good answer. And Robert Jeffress here is trying to come up with a new creative answer. So what's his answer?
It's not because there's not an answer. God has an answer, but I think he knows that we are incapable of understanding that answer.
Totally. Absolutely. That's it. We're incapable of understanding why God would allow this bad stuff to happen. You're right, actually. On point, as a matter of fact. Let me talk a little bit more about Robert Jeffress. This is Jeffress talking about atheists. This one is a little bit older. This is from 2020, actually, mid-June 2020. And they were, this is in the throes of COVID, right in the middle of it. And Jeffress, as a televangelist kind of guy, packs this arena with people right in the middle of COVID.
Here's the question. There are those that would say that the separation clause of the Constitution would mandate that all public discourse be totally secular.
Who said that? All public discourse be totally secular? I've never heard that before in my entire life, and I'm pretty prominent in the atheist sphere. What are you talking about? Who would believe this?
Do you believe that the separation clause mandates secular discourse?
What he's referring to is the Establishment Clause. I find it interesting he called it the Separation Clause. The Establishment Clause says government shall... Oh my God, I can't remember it. Hang on, let me look it up.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
It's the First Amendment. In fact, it's the first sentence of the First Amendment of the Constitution. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, semicolon, or abridging the freedom of speech, of the press, so on and so forth. The Establishment Clause. And when that was put in there, it was designed to basically prevent the government from favoring one religion over another. You want to have religion in government? That's fine, but you have to allow all religion into government. And the idea is they won't want, some extremists like Christian nationalists aren't going to want Islam involved in government, so they're not going to get involved in government either. That was the goal with that amendment. And right-wing nutcases all the way back then tried to do it anyway. So Thomas Jefferson clarified in letters he wrote to Danbury Baptist Church what that meant, the Establishment Clause. It meant the separation of church and state. Now, people like this tend to say there is no separation of church and state in the Constitution. And to that I respond, just like there are no gun rights in the Constitution. The Constitution never says gun rights. It says Second Amendment rights. The Second Amendment goes through the right to keep and bear arms, but that doesn't say gun rights, does it? It's the same absurd, ridiculous logic. Just like it doesn't say separation of church and state, it also doesn't say gun rights. That's the point. All right, let's keep listening here.
The separation clause mandates secular discourse.
The separation clause or the Establishment Clause does not mandate secular discourse. It's absurd.
Well, first of all, there is no separation clause. It doesn't appear anywhere in the Constitution.
And neither do gun rights.
There's no such thing as a separation of church and state.
No such thing as gun rights. It's fake.
In the Constitution, what the First Amendment says is Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof.
And as the federal constitution, that applies to state constitutions as well, which means it goes all the way down the chain. All of government is basically barred from establishing religion or working religion into it. And if that isn't enough for you, the Supreme Court decided on this as soon as Thomas Jefferson got into office. Not only did he clarify this point in his letters to Danbury Baptist Church, but the Supreme Court clarified it on his behalf when he was in office. We're talking within the first 10 years of the Constitution being ratified, or 15 years. So this is just a flat-out, bald-faced lie. He's just lying.
Our forefathers came from another country where there was a state-imposed church, where people were forced to worship. They wanted no part of that. They said, we're not going to allow government to establish a state church and coerce people to worship in it. That's all it says.
That's not all it says, and it doesn't matter. The Supreme Court decided on it like really early on, so.
It has nothing to say about Ten Commandment displays in schools, nativity scenes in the public squares, or prayers at the graduation. In 1980, the Supreme Court...
Just to clarify, it does specifically, certainly the Supreme Court decided on this. It does specifically say that you cannot favor one religion over another. So if you put up 10 Commandment statues, then you have to be able to put up like copies of the Quran or just like pages of the Quran or whatever other thing, the Hadiths or whatever.
Stone versus Graham said, you can no longer display the 10 Commandments in a Kentucky school. Can't even display them, much less teach them.
I don't think that's the case, but okay, whatever.
What's interesting, Clark, is 118 years before that, a similar case came before the Supreme Court of whether the Bible could be read in school. And
Interesting. Then why do we have separation of church and state today?
Supreme Court.
And I'm sorry, and one more thing. You can read the Bible in school. No one is ever stopping you from praying in school or reading the Bible in school or whatever. There was never an issue with that, ever. You can't force others with the force of government to read the Bible or to pray to Jesus or whatever. That's the difference.
School. And the Supreme Court said unanimously, and I'm quoting, "Why may not the Bible, especially the New Testament, be taught as God's revelation? Where can the principles of morality be so clearly found than the New Testament?" Now, that was the Supreme Court 118 years earlier. And every time I'm on...
Let's get an answer to this, actually. Let's see what I can find out here. There is no historical Supreme Court decision, especially not hundreds of years ago, containing that phrase. It's not from any judicial decision. It's attributed to Gene Fowler, who mused rhetorically about the moral clarity of the New Testament. And Gene Fowler was a journalist from from 1890 to 1960 is when he lived. So it looks like in the 30s he made those statements, as far as I can tell. The Supreme Court has decisively ruled school-sponsored Bible reading and prayer unconstitutional, period. That's just what it is. I know he doesn't like that, but that's just how it goes. So he's just like making shit up, of course. Why am I not surprised?
Be taught as God's revelation. Where can the principles of morality be so clearly found than the New Testament? Now,
it's just a lie. He's just lying. I thought lying was like forbidden in the Bible. Doesn't Jesus look down on people lying?
that was the Supreme Court 118 years earlier.
No, it wasn't.
And every time I'm on Fox debating some of these pinheads from the ACLU, I ask them the question.
God, these people clapping their hands into bloody nubs over here, dude.
The question. I say, now tell me, why is it in the mid-1800s you could read and teach the New Testament, but suddenly the Supreme Court decides 118 years later that you can't even post the Ten Commandments?
So you're telling me that you think that the Supreme Court was valid, I don't know, 100 years ago, but it's not valid today? Knock me over with a feather. Also, this dude likes getting really loud. I mean, I can't knock it. I like getting loud. But listen to what he does next. I remember this clip.
What changed? Did the Constitution change and nobody told us about it? Of course not. The Constitution hasn't changed, but what has changed is this. We have allowed the atheists, the secularists, the humanists to hijack our Constitution and pervert it into something our forefathers never
Boy, don't tell him how Thomas Jefferson felt about the Bible.
intended. That's what the problem is. I'm going to say this.
You know, in the 1840s, there's something called the Second Great Awakening, I think is what it was called. And it was this moment of mass religious revival. Like, people started going completely out of their heads on Jesus at the time. And they made all kinds of really terrible decisions that were objectively bad and reversed later as a result. In the late 1700s, when the Constitution was written, they were very opposed to state and church mixing. The 1800s come along and religious nutcases reform everything. And after the Second Great Awakening ended, we got back to normal, halfway normal. And now we're going through what some people say might be a Third Great Awakening. So buckle up for that one.
And it may cost me some book sales.
Yeah, because what you're saying is so hard. No one likes it. No one likes hearing it. Oh, it's so hurtful. He's going to take the book sale hit on our behalf because he's a fighter for us.
And I'm going to say it anyway. Thank God we have a president like Donald J. Trump who understands that.
Anyway, that's Robert Jeffress. So the point here ultimately is he has no idea why God would allow these bad things to happen, but he thinks we're incapable of understanding it. And he also is so thankful that Donald Trump is such a religious man. Dude lives in a delusion, straight up delusion. Tell me what you think in the comments. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon.
Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com.
I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Found this video the other day of this supposed Muslim claiming that there's like this great replacement happening. Just listen to this. I don't buy for a second that this is real.
Would you like to see Sharia law in Canada replace Canadian law?
At some point it will. You know, because we have families, we are making babies. You're not. Your population is going down the slump.
That's
right?
Yeah.
And by 2060, according to Pew Research Institute, your research, by 2060, Muslims will be the biggest religious group the world over.
Right.
What are you going to do then?
Actually,
to oppose Sharia is even then?
I'm sorry, man. I don't buy that this is real at all. First of all, this is espousing a conspiracy theory called the Great Replacement, and it was used in Germany to justify the Holocaust. Jews will not replace us. You know, that whole call. It was literally like 2% of the population in Germany at the time. It was so infinitesimally small. But they claimed that they are having children when good German Aryan people are not having children, and that's going to lead to a replacement. They're going through this exact thing in Britain right now, claiming that Muslims are going to replace all of the white people or whatever. It's just delusion. That's not how anything has ever worked. We're going through this in America too, claiming that immigrants are outnumbering, U.S. citizens because they're having more children. They're coming here and they're having children or whatever. It's delusion. This is not happening. And I'll explain why in a second. Just listen to the rest of this.
you do want a Muslim majority nation in the West End, correct?
Just like you had a Western majority nation in the land of Native Americans, one day we can have a Muslim majority nation here in Canada. Right in your face.
We have Canadian law here, and you say that you want Sharia law to displace Canadian law. That doesn't sound very respectful.
In majority, you wouldn't have any other option. Go to your queen and tell her to change the laws.
Change the laws to what, sir? To Sharia law?
No, change the laws to not allow any more Muslims to come to Canada. We owe our allegiance.
Yeah, this is very obviously a right-wing nutcase who's, like, trying to fearmonger, right?
And our loyalty first and
at best. I mean, I'm seeing a ton of cuts and stuff in here.
Our allegiance and our loyalty first and foremost to our religion, not to the queen. Okay. To be honest, when I went for my so-called oath, I was silent. I didn't say anything. It was your responsibility to make sure you got it out of me.
This is insane and sad and ridiculous. So let's talk about this. This conspiracy theory has existed since the dawn of time, honestly. You guys know Destiny? You remember he debated JonTron all these years ago? We're talking 2017.
You're nothing. That's good. You made my point for me. I agree that where you're from doesn't define who you are, that anybody can go to a country and be part of that country. So then why are we so worried about white displacement?
Because it's real. Do you want me to send you a link? Would you here?
What does white displacement mean?
Here, have a look at this chart here. That's what it looks like. You can show that on the stream if you'd like to. They're going to be, I mean, at this rate, you know, the whites would be a minority by 2042.
There you go, 2042. We're getting numbers now. 2042, 5 years ago or whenever, at 10 years ago, I don't know how long ago, 8. 2060 now. There's always some future fear-mongering number to lay down. It's absurd.
Okay, but what I'm asking is, why does it matter if a certain skin color is a minority?
Because you and people of your ilk would freak out had the situation been flipped.
I don't know how these people fall for this absolute ridiculous nonsense. How do people fall for this great replacement trash? Listen to David Pakman describe the great replacement conspiracy in terms of like American culture. The claim that immigrants are coming in, flooding our country, and then like voting against Republicans or whatever other trash. This is the justification for ICE existing and doing all of the nefarious, disgusting shit that they're doing.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
If naturalized immigrants vote for Democrats 60-40. Because remember, even though a lot of people like Tucker want you to believe that all immigrants are very left-wing, the truth is that, Cubans and Venezuelans are not very left-wing. There are lots of Asian immigrants that are not left-wing. There are many Eastern European immigrants that are not left-wing. Anyway, let's imagine that naturalized immigrants by a 60-40 margin vote for Democrats.
Cubans are especially very, very right-wing.
For Democrats. That means that for every 500,000 immigrants that become citizens, that's only a 100,000 vote margin for Democrats. When you compare that to population growth,
I mean, it literally takes like 7 years before you can vote in federal elections anyway. Like, you have to go through the whole process of not just getting a visa, but getting a green card as a permanent resident. And then you have to get citizenship, which involves taking a test. It takes years to actually get to the point where you can even take the test. You got to take an oath and all this other stuff. So this is just complete trash.
Compare that to population growth. When you compare that to people who move between states, it's a drop in the bucket. When you talk about bringing people in, having them wait the 5 years before they can request citizenship, and then the additional period to go through that process. If this is how Democrats are trying to win, it's a very stupid strategy.
It was always a stupid strategy, but that doesn't stop. I mean, it was always a stupid idea. It doesn't exist. It has never existed. That's not how populations function. But that doesn't stop people from Tucker fear-mongering about it. Pacman mentioned Tucker a minute ago. Listen to Tucker talk about it.
I'm laughing because this is one of about 10 stories that I know you've covered, where the government shows preference to people who have shown absolute contempt for our customs, our laws, our system itself, and they're being...
Who shows contempt for our customs or laws or whatever? What immigrants does he think are out trying to destroy the United States? It's delusion.
And they're being treated better than American citizens. Now, I know that the left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement.
Well, I'm not becoming hysterical. I just think that you're a f***ing idiot now, is all.
Suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate, the voters now casting ballots, with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. But they become hysterical because that's what's happening, actually.
No, it's not. It's not happening. It was never happening. It wasn't happening in 2017 when John Tron said it, and it's not happening now when that right-wing grifting scumbag said that stuff about Canada. It's not happening.
Truly. Let's just say it. That's true. If this was happening in your house, if you were in 6th grade, for example, and without telling you, your parents adopted a bunch of new siblings and gave them brand new bikes and let them stay up later and help them with their homework and gave them...
So who do you think is getting to stay up later? Who do you think is getting a brand new bicycle? This is not happening. Immigrants are not treated better than U.S. citizens. They never were. They're treated worse than U.S. citizens this entire time. Sign up for my Patreon. I'd really appreciate that very much. It would mean so much to me. This is like a really precarious moment in history, in U.S. history, and for me personally. So it would mean a lot if you sign up for my Patreon. Check out cultarchive.org. I did a cult test, basically, where you can see if you're in a cult, and you can look at the historical tests of other groups that already went through this. Also, check out my merch. I have a whole bunch of really cool shirts and stuff. Really interesting. I would really appreciate that.
Twice the allowance that they gave you. You would say to your siblings, I think we're being replaced by kids that our parents love more. And it would be kind of hard to argue against you because... look at the evidence. So this matters on a bunch of different levels, but on the most basic level, it's a voting rights question. In a democracy, one person equals one vote. If you change the population, you dilute the political power of the people who live there.
You're right, Tucker. You know what? I think you're right. We need to stop having children. Nobody should ever have children ever again. Ban having children so that Tucker's vote is worth more than anybody else's.
So every time they import a new voter, I become disenfranchised as a current voter.
Boy, don't tell him about people who have kids, for real. That would really upset him, I bet.
So I don't understand why we don't understand this. I mean, everyone wants to make a racial issue out of it. Ooh, the white replacement theory. No. This is a voting rights question. I have less political power because they're importing a brand new electorate. Why should I sit back and take that?
But that's not happening. This is just pure unadulterated delusion. Dollar Straw says Tucker is so fucking evil. He is. Absolutely. He is an evil human being. I don't say that about everybody, truthfully, but this dude is about as depraved as it gets.
The power that I have as an American guaranteed at birth is one man, one vote, and they're diluting it. No.
Having children is not diluting your vote, quote unquote. It's just how democracy works. My God, everything focuses on him. He is the center of the universe in his worldview.
And they're diluting it. No, they're not allowed to do that. Why are we putting up with this?
No, like, notice how this one dude didn't get a single word in edgewise. Like, you just kept going, yeah, uh-huh. These people are disgusting, dude, honestly. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. I can't believe that people still buy into this great replacement trash.
We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com.
I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. This dude named Dean Withers, he's a Zoomer, if you will, debates right-wing nutcases all the time, MAGA people. Listen to this.
I support him because, well, due to his stance on abortion. I'm anti-abortion, no exceptions, because abortion really is just socially acceptable eugenics.
Abortion is socially acceptable eugenics.
No exceptions. So even if the mother's going to die if she gives birth, you still think she should be forced to give birth?
Yes, and my reason behind this is because...
You know why eugenics is so bad above anything? It's because it is taking away people's choice. They're being forced to do this or that. They're being forced into these positions. There was a group of black people in Germany in the 30s named the Rhineland Bastards. I think like 100 of them or something who were castrated, who were prevented from having children. That's eugenics. They had their choice taken from them. But a woman is choosing to get an abortion. That's her choice and that's her body, and she can make this choice for herself if she wants to. That's not eugenics. Eugenics has a lot of baggage that comes with it, obviously. It's a term that was popular in Germany in the 30s, and in the United States in the 30s, to be fair. But the point is, it was technically, I suppose, eugenics is trying to guide human evolution in the strictest sense. But really, it's more than that, obviously. It's specifically trying to force people to, make decisions for their lives, taking away their free will, their right to make those decisions or whatever.
With abortion, people are able to go through and pick out traits that they would like or dislike, including whether or not the person is going to live or die, the child or the mother.
I'm sorry? No?
But I think that it should just be allowed to run its course the way God intended. And
so if God intended everybody, if God intends people to die, then they should just die, is what you're telling me, right?
And honestly, to continue that, I think that modern medicine should be kind of dialed back because the planet has a lot of, it's way overpopulated. And by continuing to push abortion and
the planet is overpopulated and we should dial back how many people there are.
Modern medicine, not only are we trying to sort out undesirable traits, which is again eugenics, but we are also contributing to the overpopulation of the earth.
Okay, I'm going to go to respond to that. So the first reason that you told me women should die is because nature should run its course, right?
Yes.
Hospitals infringe upon nature running its course. Should we ban hospitals?
Perhaps.
I'm sorry? This lady is deranged, says Gina817. Yes, absolutely. We should ban hospitals. I mean, this is how far we've come now. This is where we are now. This is insane. Interestingly, Dean Withers is a former Trump supporter. Wish more people could flip their perspective. November to Mark. Appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know that. Is he? Interesting. Yeah, I wish that people would flip their perspective too. Unfortunately, we're in a moment in history right now where we're pumping out right-wing extremists like children. Like my kid is on the left primarily because of the George Floyd protests, because that happened around that time. What's happening right now is producing massive amounts of neo-Nazi children, unfortunately, watching this unfold.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
So the first reason that you told me women should die is because nature should run its course, right?
Yes.
Hospitals infringe upon nature running its course. Should we ban hospitals?
Perhaps.
Okay. All right.
That's funny.
Okay. So you just want to go back to, like, caveman era, right?
Yes, maybe we should go back there and start again, see if it goes differently the second time around.
Bro, you can't go backward.
Did cavemen have iPhones and an internet connection?
No.
Okay. Well, you're obviously on one right now talking to me. So why don't you practice what you preach?
Maybe I will.
Okay.
Maybe she'll throw the phone out the window. Okay.
Do it. I want you to turn your camera on, go get a hammer, and I want to see the hammer coming down to the camera and breaking your phone.
Why would I do that?
Because it's not letting nature run its course. It's
because it's morally inconsistent.
Natural. Do it right now. No joke. No joke, Amanda. I'm going to go ahead and send you an invite to turn on your camera. I want you to do it right now. I'm not even joking.
I think if I picked up a hammer, that wouldn't be nature running its course. That would be me making that decision.
What? No, it's you destroying things that are unnatural. Because you remember you told us that you wanted to destroy things that are unnatural, like healthcare? Well, then you should destroy things that are unnatural, like your phone. Do it right now.
Are we going to destroy hospitals in real life? Are we actually going to destroy healthcare once that
Isn't that literally what she said she wanted to do?
happens? I will destroy my phone.
Wait, why don't you want to take the first step?
Because I, as a singular person, especially one who is under the voting age, still
How old are you?
Be able 19. Oh, wait, sorry, I'm not under the voting age. I forgot that was all.
Okay. He's just stunned into silence. That's funny, dude.
Alcohol is also unnatural. Drinking
No, it's not.
alcohol is unnatural. Alcohol exists in real life, but drinking alcohol is unnatural. Which is also why I stay away from that.
Okay, Amanda didn't destroy her phone. Amanda, you should really do that. It'd be great. It'd be very beneficial for the world, getting us back to a dawn of where everything is natural, and I think that we need that. No, I completely agree, Amanda. Only in the scope of you destroying your phone, though. Only in the scope of her destroying the phone. We should destroy everything that is unnatural, if and only if it's Amanda's cellular device.
That is absolutely psychotic, bro. Like, what is wrong with these people? I swear to God, we have entered a dark age in human history. Yeah, check this one out from Dean. Same dude.
Congrats, you've got your niche. It's this like autistic, I can memorize everything and I think I'm smarter and better than you. I think you're 100% grifter. It's very cringe. Your attitude, especially your attitude towards me, which is ironically extremely elitist of you. This is what most Americans were sick of. We were sick of being told by people we're dumb, useless, redneck idiots. I'm very popular because I have very common sense opinions.
I asked
very common sense opinions, totally.
you to review any position that I hold to be the case with reason and logic, and you gave a long-winded 2-minute response about how you think I'm autistic and how I'm elitist because I think that you're weird and dumb. I think that this perfectly resembles the quote-unquote common sense of the right. The common sense of the right has nothing to do with sense, has nothing to do with reason, has nothing to do with logic, has all to do with your emotions and how you hold them to such a high pedestal to dictate what should happen to others. Like, for instance, you have put the pedal to the metal on me so many times about how it's okay to say anything you want, words are just words, but as soon as I call you dumb,
you called me
talk about it for 45 minutes straight. And
Yeah, there is no moral consistency here. This is like when right-wingers like talk nonstop about a tyrannical government, and the government is literally like sending the military in to do like martial law on the streets of Chicago or DC or wherever. And suddenly those states' rights people are dead silent. Nowhere to be found. There is no moral consistency to be found here. None. Wait, was that the end?
Congrats.
Yeah, it was. Anyway, these people are a joke. These people are straight up a joke. And of course, there's that one time that Dean Withers debated Charlie Kirk. You know, in all seriousness, there's a reason why Charlie Kirk and these other people go after children. And they describe it here. This is a Trump-like extremist TV show. These guys will do literally anything for Donald Trump. Anything. And they explain why they're going after children. Sign up for my Patreon. I'd really appreciate that very much. It would mean so much to me. This is like a really precarious moment in history, in U.S. history, and for me personally. So it would mean a lot if you sign up for my Patreon. Check out cultarchive.org. I did a cult test, basically, where you can see if you're in a cult, and you can look at the historical tests of other groups that already went through this. Also, check out my merch. I have a whole bunch of really cool shirts and stuff. Really interesting. I would really appreciate that.
You know, when we look back on Hitler, Hitler went for the youth. The enemy always goes for the youth. We must take up arms and go for our youth.
There. I mean, they call themselves the enemy there.
Arms of the truth and of godly principles. But I want...
The point is that, like, trying to pull in youth works flawlessly to accomplish the goal of, like, swaying an entire population. It's really, really disturbing to watch. Listen to Dean talk to Charlie Kirk here. It's interesting.
Have our terms correct. We agree?
Actually, no. So first of all, I would like to refine our terms. I have 2 points to bring up after that, though. So you define murder as like intentionally like killing a human being. I think that's a very poor way to define murder, because if someone were to like break into my home and point a gun at the heads of me and everybody I love, and I intentionally kill them to prevent them from from killing my family, I don't...
Yeah, the unaliving thing drives me nuts.
I don't think I murdered them, right? So I would define murder as the unjustified termination of a human life.
You're making a good point. Let me further clarify that. So self-defense is very warranted.
Exactly, right?
But I can see where you're going to go with how that has to go with abortion, but we can go down that journey in a second.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I kind of do want to give you my argument insofar as why I'm pro-choice, why I think it's justified. But first, I think that, you know, your position is quite absurd, right? Because you're saying that it is murder to kill a human being, right, at any point in development, especially when it's in the mother's womb. My question to you would be, well, does this make women with IUDs murderers? Because it is...
In his mind, yes. You know, I went down this right-wing rabbit hole and found myself on their Telegram channels and all over their weird little forums. And if there's one thing that I learned about being all over those little forums, it's that these people are way more violent and insane than we realize. These people are out of their heads. They are so much more willing to do violence and engage in extremist behavior than we understand. And however worried you are right now about where society is, you should be a lot more worried.
The case that in some scenarios, an IUD will allow for conception to occur, meaning there's a unique human life there, but it will prevent its implantation. And
Charlie Kirk's answer to this, are IUDs wrong? The answer is yes. They are more extreme than we think they are. Birth control in this dude's mind is bad across the board, full stop. It's really, really psychotic, honestly.
Intentionally killing it.
Well, no, preventing implantation is not necessarily the same thing as terminating a fertilized egg. For example, if you...
He doesn't understand how it works then, but yeah, he does actually feel this way. If you pin him down, I don't know why he's pretending to be more moderate than he actually is. Just be honest about your position. See, I've heard him say it before.
Take Plan B. Again, it's not the same thing. Preventing the production of progesterone is not the same thing as terminating a being that has been fertilized. You do not know for a fact that the egg has been fertilized. You do not know that.
Well, Plan B is not an abortion pill. I don't know if you guys realize this. Plan B is basically just a very high dose of normal birth control. And if it's already implanted, Plan B will not work. It's not an abortion by any stretch of the imagination.
An IUD.
Okay, yeah, so preventing fertilization or implantation to the uterine lining is killing a conceived zygote. So what happens? A sperm goes into the egg, right? The egg becomes fertilized. It's a conceived zygote. In some cases, it will prevent the implantation of the conceived zygote, killing the conceived zygote.
In some cases, correct.
So what do you say in some cases, women with IUDs are murderers?
Of course not, they're not murderers. We do not know for a case. That's like saying that...
So what's the difference between an IUD killing a conceived zygote and like a mother going to Planned Parenthood and killing the fetus in her womb?
Well, so you're asking two separate things. If they knew for...
He's really not. It's just either Charlie Kirk doesn't know how this science works, or is pretending not to know, or I don't know.
Certain, to be more clear, that I have a fertilized egg and I'm going to take a drug to prevent that fertilized egg from attaching to their uterine wall, then yes, that is an act of killing or murder, of course.
Okay, so do you think all murderers should go to jail?
Do I think all murderers should go to jail? I mean, on third degree murder. However, no, I don't think women that got abortions or had IUDs should go to jail, because I think that they have been deceived by mass culture.
Oh, please.
For mass propaganda. Secondly, the people who should go to jail are the abortionists, who are the ones that have been putting the abortion pill.
Dude, he's such a scumbag, dude. I cannot stand Charlie Kirk, and he is responsible for a disturbing amount of damage that's taken place in society. Seriously. But Dean Withers is interesting. Yeah, tell me what you think in the comments. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they worked together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. This is Shane Vaughn. He's a Trump theologist. Give this a listen.
Have you seen the upgrades to the dignity of what it looks like in the Oval Office? It went from a plain Jane. Donald Trump has goldified the Oval Office.
And that has made it more dignified?
And paid for it out of his pocket.
No, he didn't. What are you smoking? You think Trump paid for all of this out of his own pocket? I just have to ask, you think that Trump is richer or poorer today than when he ran for president in 2016 or 2024? When did he have more money? Now or 10 years ago?
You and I didn't pay one dime for the beauty. He's made it look like Buckingham Palace, something to be proud of.
Buckingham. So you're telling me that he's trying to make himself out to be a king then, right? To say it looks like Buckingham Palace? What makes you think that we should be proud of having a king or gold adorned everything?
We're not plain Jane people. We're the greatest nation on the face of the earth. And our Oval Office should display that grandeur, that austerity. Thank you, President Trump. He paid for it out of his pocket. And guess what else? He's paying for it out of his own pocket. That grand ballroom, that gold.
No, I don't know why he keeps saying he paid for this out of his own pocket.
Covered ballroom. Somebody said, I don't like all that gaudy gold. Then you're not going to like the kingdom of God very much.
You know what it reminds me of this obsession with gold? It reminds me of the gold calf from the book of Exodus or Leviticus or whatever from the Old Testament. The golden calf where people melted down their jewelry and made a golden calf to worship or whatever. You know what else reminds me of that? Come to think of it, this does. You remember this? This is at CPAC 2021, a literal golden statue of Donald Trump. That's weird, right? The point is that Donald Trump is the embodiment of the Antichrist, honestly.
Where streets are even made out of it, according to people's understanding.
Really? According to people's understanding, not according to the Bible, but people's understanding.
The Ark of the Covenant, covered in gold. The altar of incense, covered in gold. The table of shewbread, covered in gold.
So he's saying that gold is a holy, godly color, and Donald Trump, it represents that godliness. Again, he is actually a Trump theologist, like actually believes that Trump is basically the second coming of Jesus. He's fulfilling the role Jesus was intended to fulfill on his return.
The menorah, covered in gold, because gold is godly. Gold speaks of heavenly things. And the United States of America was founded by the decree of heaven. So thank you, President Trump, and I pray that ballroom has gold toilets. I can't wait. What a great day to be an American.
Just disgusting, dude, honestly. This dude is disgusting in more ways than just one, though. Check this one out.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
The only thing that's coming today is the crucifixion of Donald Trump. Oh, no.
This one is from July 15th, 2025, by the way.
Not by the Romans. Yeshua, Jesus Christ, was not killed by the Romans.
Yes, he was. It was not the Jews that killed Jesus. It was the Romans.
Oh, yes, they drove the nails. But it was the Jews that delivered him to them. And one can't help but wonder.
You can see the narrative in the New Testament turn against Jews. It was a very, like, the writers were very, they had an anti-Jewish bias. Just like in the book of Deuteronomy, there was an anti-North bias. The writer, whoever it was not Moses, operated out of Judea, the southern, like, sister nation to Israel, and had an anti-Israel bias. And in the New Testament, you can see the same type of bias against Jews coming out. The Jews were not responsible for Jesus' death. The Romans were. That's just a fact.
If history is not repeating itself and we are not delivering Donald Trump to the crucifixion of his enemies.
This is yet another comparison between Jesus and Donald Trump that this guy does. He's done like a billion of these comparisons. He literally thinks that like Trump is the second coming. Listen to this. Late July 2025, Trump was doing this whole anti-Obama bit and trying to spin up a conspiracy theory about him.
If you count from the flood date forward, their judgment was to end after 70 generations, when they would be released back on the earth to once again deprave mankind and turn them into mere beasts again.
Okay, this is an ass-backward interpretation of some Bible verses. This is like pseudo-prophecy nonsense he's laying down for us. And who's he talking about? Is he talking about the Jews? I'm not even sure, actually. Is he saying that the Jews were like destined to turn people into beasts?
Well, when you do the calculations, the year of their release was the year 2008.
I have to wonder how he got there.
The very year that Barack Obama arose, a man who brought with him not just policy shifts, but spiritual perversion and spiritual inversion, turning all right side things upside down. It's almost as if when Barack Obama rose, all the restraints fell off of American society.
Oh my God. He's literally saying Obama is like a Nephilim, basically. By the way, Shane Vaughn believes that the Jews that live in Israel today are not the real Jews. They're imposters. And the real Jews are us, you and me, specifically Donald Trump. He thinks that Anglo-Saxons, all right, he thinks that the Jews traveled up over the Caucasus Mountains and went to Europe after Babylon destroyed Israel in 586 BCE. And they lived in the Angle Isles and in Saxony in the Germany area. And then they took a boat over to the British Isles and became the Anglo-Saxons, and then sailed over to America and founded the United States. He thinks we're the real Jews. This is pure, unadulterated delusion.
All of the taboos, all of the restraint, everything just sort of fell off from mankind when these fallen ones were loosed again. So yes, Barack Obama in 2008 was the year that shifted America.
Absolute delusion, dude. He unironically thinks that Trump is like something special. Listen to this one. Sign up for my Patreon. I'd really appreciate that very much. It would mean so much to me. This is like a really precarious moment in history, in U.S. history, and for me personally. So it would mean a lot if you sign up for my Patreon. Check out cultarchive.org. I did a cult test, basically, where you can see if you're in a cult, and you can look at the historical tests of other groups that already went through this. Also, check out my merch. I have a whole bunch of really cool shirts and stuff. Really interesting. I would really appreciate that.
We would never be this defensive of Donald Trump if you would not have forced us into this cult mentality. Yeah, we would now fight for Donald Trump. Why? We believe in justice.
Right. Justice.
And when we see a man that God's put his hand on being attacked night and day, you are forcing us to look like a cult.
It's my fault you look like a cult. Right. Okay.
We're patient and steadfast in our support of a single man. We are cult followers. Yes, we follow a man. Yes, we do. We drank the Kool-Aid and it's orange.
Jesus Christ, dude. Just to come out and admit it, like, are you proud of that? I don't understand. How did you come to the point where you think it's okay, acceptable in any way as a Christian to follow a man like this? At least he's honest. Check this one out. This one is from 2021, early September.
Do you know God's favorite job is a gardener? Adam was a gardener.
I thought it was carpenter.
You are being called to the Garden of America to pull out the weeds of liberalism, to pull out the disease of democracy, and to restore the walls of the republic, and to rebuild the hedges of holiness, and to place within this nation the hedgerows of the law of God, the rule of law, and the rule of this great republic.
Destroy democracy. He wants to destroy democracy. That is where the Trump movement is today. Absolutely psychotic. Tell me what you think in the comments.
That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon.
I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon.
Okay, thanks for watching, guys.